Well, hey, everybody, it is Lisa from Not That Hard to Homeschool, and I have a special guest here today, Leanne Benjamin. We are going to talk about something super exciting. You guys, we believe that homeschooling is not that hard and that you can confidently, competently, and even contentedly homeschool your kids. We're all in for that. We do think that the world is changing and we're in a time of disruption, and there's a couple things you can do to prepare your kids super well. And Leanne is a math guru, so she's the math girl. and She actually teaches math through True North Homeschool Academy online. But we are going to talk about how important math skills are for entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurship is so important right now that some colleges are requiring it as part of the general education requirements. Why is that? Well, a couple reasons. We're in the fourth industrial revolution. We're in a time of great societal disruption and upheaval, as I think all of us are feeling and experiencing right now. Education's kind of in free fall, but one of the best ways to really ensure success for your kids in this time of industrial revolution disruption, jobs that your kids will work in that don't even exist yet, is to give them entrepreneurial skills. And some of the foundations of that are math. So that was like
Yes.
a big intro. But Leanne, I'm so glad you're here to talk with us about this. Welcome. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've had a long career teaching mathematics,
Hmm.
all the way from middle school through college,
Okay.
including the calculus and beyond.
Hmm.
And I got my master's degree in 1989 from the University of Central Florida. And I had an excellent program and great professors. One of
Awesome.
my professors knew Einstein personally.
Wow.
I heard a lot of anecdotal stories, and it was really
That's
nice
fun.
that I had
Yeah.
that experience.
Yeah.
So I have a love of math, and I knew by the time I was in third grade, I was going to be a teacher, and math was my subject.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So I followed through on that, and I've had a lot of nice experiences that a lot of other people never have an opportunity to have.
Yeah.
So
That's
I feel
awesome.
very blessed that way.
Yeah.
And I just love True North because it blends teaching, but the students are very motivated and they really and truly want to learn the material, not just take an easy way out.
Yeah.
And the quality of the education, in my opinion, is stellar.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. I always felt like math was one of those things. I love math. I'm not afraid of numbers. I'm very, very quick at simple math, not calc. I'm not saying that, but like addition, subtraction, I can really do that quickly. But I felt like homeschooling my kids in math was tough because teaching is a whole different thing. And I actually had one kid who was dyscalculic and had dyscalculia. How do you say that? And I didn't really understand it because she's doubly gifted, super smart in other areas. And so we really struggled with math. And then I have two kids that are super mathy, and we finally outsourced for them. Like I had one of my sons, he's actually went on to do a math minor, and now he's back in the math field again. And my other daughter, she just loves accounting and stats and all that kind of stuff. So we ran the gamut at our house. And I think I owned every math program out there. Some we loved, some we hated. But it was tough to teach it because we had a wide range of abilities. And uh, anyway, thank goodness for outsourcing. That kind of became our salvation for math, and I'm so grateful for people like you who love math and know how to teach it because it's not always
You
the easiest combo, right?
right.
Um, but give me all your English students. I'm there for that.
Yes.
Humanities, I'm good with it. Um, but I do think, regardless of where your kids are at on the math spectrum, understanding some basics of math is going to be super helpful for them as they go out into this crazy kind of disrupted world because they're going to probably they're going to work in the gig economy. They might work for themselves a little bit, or they might be responsible for sales or closing sales or invoicing or whatever. I mean, our teachers at True North do their own invoicing. They invoice me every month. I mean, no matter what you do, it seems like these days you have something to do with numbers. And if you don't get it right, it can be a little scary and intimidating. And if you do get it right, you can go so much farther faster. So what kind of math skills do you think kids really need to have to succeed these days?
Well, I think they need the basics,
Mhm.
not just how to operate a calculator, but in their early primary grades, learn the math, the arithmetic, addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division.
Yeah.
Then later you can add in a calculator,
Hmm.
but they just are going to need an overview of how math impacts every facet of life.
Yeah.
And it really does.
Hmm.
It's from doing household budgets to learning to tithe and
Hmm.
to give back to institutions that give to them,
Yep.
and to learn, if they're considering marriage, which many of them probably will at some point, how to work with the math skills that they have
Yeah.
to plan, so they can learn how to manipulate things in their lives. In a simple example is like the girls are going to want to hang curtains,
Hmm.
and the guys are going to want to maybe change a floor,
Uh-huh.
and you need math skills to do that, the very
Yeah.
basics. But then when you go forward from there, it's everywhere. It's
Yeah.
how much fertilizer do you apply to your lawn?
Yeah.
It's keeping your car in working order and what it takes to do that.
Yeah.
And all of these things involve math. And then when they get out into the real world beyond college, they have to know how to operate in that world. So they need some accounting skills.
Hmm.
They need to know how math impacts science. And
Mm.
if they're into the arts, how does that get involved in our architecture or our music
Yeah.
or our artistry? And some will even consider the space program,
Right.
because
Right.
we've been to the moon and back, but what's next?
Yeah.
Mars?
Right.
How will we get there?
Yeah.
Things have not been developed yet that will get us there as a
Right.
civilization. So the chances are our students are going to be involved in that. And
Right.
they have to know what kinds of engineering is involved. And they also have to be able to teach their own
Hmm.
students, their own children,
Yeah.
because those who homeschool, that is a mission in
Yeah.
life. And I've done it.
Hmm.
And the rewards are so great for
Hmm.
parent and child.
Right. Right.
And it reaches out and touches so many other people.
Yeah. I
And
would
so
agree. Speaking
it's
of
all
this,
around us.
it is all around us. Speaking of the space program, this morning, it's November 18th, 2023. In case you guys are listening later, SpaceX launched a rocket this morning and it
Yes,
blew
they
up.
did.
And here's the deal, they considered that a success because
Yes,
it was just 15 or 20 seconds to the end of the mission. But one of the things about true innovators is they realize that they have to fail forward to success, and that's one of the crazy innovative things about SpaceX and certain people who own it is that they're okay with blowing up rockets because they know there's a percentage of failures to get to success. And that, I
yes,
think that's one of the great things math can teach us, because there are real answers that are non-negotiable, and we get to fail our way to that non-negotiable answer. And that is such a great life skill, is failing towards the next success. I mean, if
that
we've
is
all lived more than two
absolutely
weeks,
correct.
done it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And they learn it all along the way, because I don't think I've met a person yet who never got a math problem wrong,
Right.
myself included.
Yeah.
And it's in the failure that you learn
Yeah.
what you did wrong, and maybe even how to streamline it in the
Right.
future.
Yes.
And that skill is just invaluable in their futures.
Exactly. You mentioned everything from household budget. I'll tell you, we're doing an addition within a garage on our 100-year-old house, and we are getting ready to paint that addition. And my husband's like, a couple gallon paints will do it. And I'm like, I think we need 5 gallons. So we're doing the square footage and everything and figuring it all out, which I like those kind of math problems. To me, it's just kind of a fun little thing
Yes.
to do on a piece of paper. But I think it's realizing that math can really help our kids succeed no matter what field they go into. And you mentioned something about knowing the basics, addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. What are your thoughts about memorizing those? Because you hear all the time, don't have your kids memorize anything they can Google. And I have such strong opinions about that. What are your thoughts?
I I say memorize
Oh, I'm with
and
you. Yeah,
and
I like that
get
answer.
them get them where they can come up with the answers quickly.
Yes.
And one of the courses I'm teaching this time is fifth grade math.
Yeah.
And they have in their programs for their homeworks, it's called a math shootout.
Oh,
And
fun.
it's like times tables or addition facts, and you have to be quick with them.
Yeah.
And it's fun and they enjoy it
Yeah.
along the way.
Right. And the other thing too, if your kids don't have those memorized, they're going to get to algebra and go, I have to look up everything. And then they're going to go, I'm bad at math, and they're going to quit. And here's the deal. They're not bad at math. They have it memorized. And if you
Correct.
have it memorized, algebra is not quite so painful. If you have a kid who doesn't really love math, algebra might be tough. But if they have those facts memorized, they at least know where to plug and play. And if they don't, and they have to look up every little section of that multiple part problem, it's going to be tough for them. And here's the other thing. Everybody's like, well, I haven't used algebra once today. Well, have you critically thought today?
Yes. Methodical thinking
Yeah.
with logical progression in your steps is so
Yeah.
keen.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I taught an entrance level math class at one of
Mhm.
the community colleges for years and years. And I got these fluorescent green pencils and they had the times tables on them.
Hmm.
And I passed one out to each student at the beginning of every semester. And I said, this is your magic pencil. You use it whenever you need it. Oh, we don't believe in magic. I said, that's all right. Withhold your opinion till the end of the course. They all knew their times tables, their addition and subtraction. And they told me when they came in for the final exam, that really was a magic pencil because I learned it all.
I love it. Yes. If you're not sure how to teach your kids memorization, repetition. And that's what that pencil did. It had it
Absolutely.
right there. So they could see it, refer back to it. If those visual learners, now they knew on the pencil where that solution was. That is great, great teaching. I love it. So a couple ways math is going to help your kids with entrepreneurial skills. It's going to teach them how to fail forward. It's going to teach them methodical, critical thinking. These are really great skills for entrepreneurs. Other ways that you can think of.
Well, budgeting, you
Oh,
have to
yeah.
learn that you cannot spend more than you take in, even though the
Oh,
government does it all the time. But in the kitchen table of life, you can't do that. You have to learn to make do with what you have.
yes.
And sometimes if you don't have money to complete something you would really like to do, you teach yourself how to save for it
Yeah.
if possible,
Right.
or how to negotiate with
Yeah.
friends and
Mhm.
neighbors to
Yeah.
maybe obtain some things that way.
Right.
I'll babysit for your kids if
Yeah.
you will, chip in so much toward my project.
Right. Right.
And it helps them with sales too, and breaking the ice because the introvert student is very reluctant to talk to other people,
Yeah.
but money is a great motivator.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? I was thinking when you said leverage or negotiating or budgeting, another skill that I think math teaches our kids is how to leverage. If we know what the end need is, we can leverage skills or future prospects or whatever. I mean, you have the ability to leverage if you know what the amount is. If you don't and you're guessing, you're always shooting in the dark. And I think that's one of the beautiful things that, the magical things about a budget is that it gives you so much ability to negotiate, to leverage, to brainstorm, that if you don't have those solid numbers, you're just kind of guessing all the time.
Yes, and when people start companies, a lot of times they don't plan for unforeseeable things.
Right.
And leveraging can be something as simple as maybe helping a neighbor build a planter if they will help you get your project going.
Right. Yeah, it can be very simple.
And it's just very valuable. It helps the shy student kind of break through the barrier and not be afraid to discuss things.
Exactly.
Because a lot of times these entrepreneurs have great ideas, and people will scratch their head and say, wow, that's such a simple idea. I wish I had thought of that.
Yes.
So we need them. We need math lovers, and we need the poets and the artists too.
Yeah. There's a lot of math and art. BJ Preman, she actually teaches art for True North Homeschool Academy. And we did a workshop this last year in person. And she did this whole presentation on how people are like, I'm not going to train my kids for the arts because of this. They're never get a job. And she went through like, there's more artists than doctors or lawyers. She went through all these professions, and there's a lot of artists in the world that are also scientists. And I just think, there's so much math involved in art. We don't even think about it. She did a whole subsection on that. It was a brilliant presentation. Actually, I've asked her to just do it so we can share it with everybody, because it was like so amazing. But I do think that's really a great point, is that there's so much math everywhere. You're going to actually teach a class this spring called Math and Art. Super excited about that one.
Yes. And some of the topics we're going to cover is math and nature. We're going to look at the Fibonacci sequence and patterns in things that we see in nature. We're going to cover some of the history of math and how our mathematics was developed and who did it and when, and how did they come about to do that? Because often math is a necessity. And a prime example of that is Sir Isaac Newton. He developed the calculus because there was a need for that information. So
interesting.
Necessity is the mother of invention.
Right. Very entrepreneurial.
Yes. And he was told one time he was a giant in his field. And he said, no, it's because I've stood on the shoulders of giants.
Yes, I love that. Humility too. You mentioned patterns. I want to get back to that really quickly, because patterns are so important. This is another way that math teaches entrepreneurial skills. There's so many patterns in math. I mean, that's one of the beautiful things about memorizing these facts. You start seeing patterns on patterns on patterns, because your brain is holding it so they can synthesize and synergize. Patterns are in so many fields right now. Foreign language, computers. I mean, and that's one of the great things about that it can really help your kids with an entrepreneurial idea, is that a lot of people who are entrepreneurs, they saw patterns and they figured out how to capitalize on it, right?
That's correct. That's correct. Yeah. One of the exercises I talk about in some of my math classes, I haven't done it yet this year, but we're going to be talking about how do you save the most money, and interest and compound interest and like that. And who winds up with more money if you start by saving a penny the first day, and then you double it the next day, and then you double it the next day. And they think that maybe putting $1,000 a month is saving more than that, until they realize no. Compound interest is a very good thing.
It's a little magical, maybe.
Yes.
Yes. Well, and that's a great pattern for entrepreneurs to, I mean, if you want to teach your kids entrepreneurial skills, that's really helpful too, because one of the things that anybody who started a business, what we're all trying to get to is how does 2 + 2 really equal 8? Like 2 + 2 can equal 4 for everybody else, but as an entrepreneur, we really need it to be a little sparkly and shiny and get there faster than, most people.
Yes,
That's how entrepreneurs make their money. So just
that's right.
learning simple patterns can be so helpful to your kids.
Just
Yeah,
patterns in how people purchase items and what they look for.
yeah,
Jeff Bezos is one of the richest men in the world,
yeah.
and he did that making a company called Amazon.
Oh, Amazon. Actually, how I love you. I live out in the middle of nowhere and it's just so handy.
We all do. That's
Yeah.
why he's one of the richest men
Yes,
in the world. And
exactly.
it's a simple thing. He just started out, well, I'm going to sell some things online, and that blossomed. Well, Susie Q over there has a shop that sells this,
Yeah.
and he added it into his line, and then it grew exponentially from there.
Right. It was like your pennies. One, you
Yeah,
know what I mean? It's exponential. So I just think math is so super helpful for our kids. And listen, if you're struggling with math, don't give up on it. It literally could be the program. And the reason why I say that is my super mathy kid, who is actually in advanced math in upper level college, grad school kind of stuff. He really struggled with a very popular math book. And then we had a house fire and we lost everything. And somebody sent us Life of Fred. And he loved Life of Fred. And he ended up going through Life of Fred to calc. He was doing calc in high school. And really, it was just, it like all math has the same information. Let's be honest. Like all the algebra
absolutely.
programs have 90% all the same information, but it's how it is presented that is different. And so
Yes,
if your kid's struggling with math, unless they have learning disorder or something like that, you might just need a different way of presentation, you know?
yes.
So
And
don't be afraid. Yeah,
that's where the teaching background comes in with me,
yeah.
because I learned in my education that if a kid has a problem, you don't roll your eyes and
Hmm.
hope that they'll go away. No, you try to figure out 6 other ways to get it across,
Hmm. Yeah,
and sometimes 12 ways to get it
right.
across.
Yeah.
And you will eventually hit on what works for that student.
Yeah. And that is the beauty of a subject matter expert instructor. They are the textbook. I mean, that is like honestly, for a little project at True North, I was looking through the curriculum that we use. And really, more often than not, is the teacher that provides, it's their knowledge that they're bringing to the table. I mean, they have extension activities and books and kind of stuff, but they're really bringing their knowledge. And as homeschool moms, I say this in all my workshops, multiply the number of kids you have times subjects per year. So I had 5 kids times 6 subjects. That's 30 subjects a year times homeschooling them each for 12 years. That's 360 grade levels and subjects for one homeschool mom. And I was working for a third of the time we homeschooled and keeping a house. We had pets, all the things. It's too much. We don't have to do it all ourselves. And so I just really want to
Correct.
encourage moms, like, if there's a subject that you're just like, you hear Leanne and you go, you know what, she sounds like she'd be a great person to have my kid learn from, outsource. find
Yes.
find that person or community that is a trusted academic partner and let them handle those things you don't have the bandwidth for. Because I'll tell you what, if you're tapped out and you're just like, here we go again with math, and I know you're not going to get it, and I hate it anyway, your kid's going to suffer as
Well,
they do
they'll
math.
adopt that same attitude, which is harmful.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that shuts down future learning. And
yeah,
there's nothing sadder to me. I tutored a girl in Algebra 2 last year,
yeah.
and her parents were hoping that she would pass.
Hmm.
And she was a pretty bright student, but she had terrible skills. She did not memorize anything in her early education. So she understood the concepts of Algebra 2, but her 15 minus 6, she couldn't tell me what it was.
Wow.
And in the end, she opted for passing the class with the lowest D.
Yeah.
And what she did was she lost all those potential job paths that she
Yeah.
was interested in. She wanted to be a veterinarian.
Oh,
She lost it
yeah.
because you cannot do math and you
Yeah.
can't do biology and chemistry.
Right.
And that she's looking and talking with her mother about maybe going to school to learn to cut hair.
Yeah.
And what a waste of a mind that is.
Yeah, right, right. And look, I mean, all of us who need a haircut, we appreciate our hairdressers. Like, but the thing is, if your kid is held back because they don't have skills, they've lost opportunities. And math
And
is so
earning power.
and earning power, right? Exactly. You mentioned two professions that are really entrepreneurial. Most vets I know are in business for themselves, and most beauticians, they're either working for somebody that they're renting a booth from. They're actually entrepreneurial as well. And so those are just two professions that you just mentioned offhand that really need math skills in order to do what, I mean, she's going to need math even if she's cutting hair one way or another.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So maybe not calculus or maybe not algebra 2, but yeah, super important for both those. Again, most of our kids are going to be working in a gig kind of economy. And a gig means like my grandma worked for GTE, General Telephone Electric, for 35 years. She got the watch at retirement. Those days are over. Most of our kids on average are going to have 16, 15, I think, or 16 different jobs over the course of their vocational life because we're all living
Yes.
longer. Not 15 jobs in the same maybe job sphere, but different vocations actually. And so
Yes.
they need these skills in a way that we didn't necessarily need to have them. They need to know how to pivot quickly. They need to understand how to do percentages and taxes and budget for themselves and know if they don't get the next gig, how are they going to make the last payment that they got last. They need to know these things. These are just basic life skills that we might not have had to worry about. I did too many have tos, but we didn't have to worry about them quite so much. And math is just super important to all of this. So yeah, I
Now,
just want to
even
encourage parents. Yeah.
even as an offshoot, I taught a class at the colleges called Student Success.
Yeah.
And an incoming freshman had to take that their
Yeah.
first term. And it talks about things like time management, how to study, how
Yeah.
to take tests, how to keep your health up.
Mm,
And because in college, diet takes a nosedive because
yeah.
they're in a hurry. They don't think about eating good food and they
Right.
wind up getting sick. And it's costly in terms of money because if you have to drop out of a class, you lose the money you paid for that class.
Right.
So I try to interject that into all my classes,
Hmm.
including how to study and
Yeah.
how to retain what you know.
Yeah, that's excellent. It's so important right now because really health can be super expensive too. I mean, if you don't have it and you're trying to regain it, that can be like really expensive.
Even if it's just a temporary thing, like you break a bone,
Yeah.
just think about what one visit to the ER costs.
I can tell you, my son broke his ankle, $32,000.
Yes,
Yeah, it was a
yes,
chunk of money. And, depending on insurance and how that all works out, you can pay part or all of it. I mean, even, anyway, we're just in interesting times. And I just like part of the reason why we wanted to do this podcast was just encourage you as parents, like, don't overlook math or don't just let your kids slide by with math. These are such important skills that they're going to need to really have the life that they want to have. One of the things we always talk about with career exploration is not just what kind of job we think your kid is interested in or you do, but what kind of lifestyle do you think your kid wants to have? What kind of lifestyle do they envision for themselves? And then back into how are they going to pay for that? And one statistic I heard is most medical doctors go into medicine not because they are so compassionate about people or they love science, but because they have a really expensive hobby they want to fund, which
that's correct.
I think is interesting. I think it's a little brilliant that they said, I want to fund my expensive hobby. How can I do that best? I'm going to be a medical doctor. Okay. But I think we can all learn from that lesson. Like,
Yes,
yeah, like, that's a great way to like put math down on the pavement and get to where you want to go, right?
absolutely. And what you said earlier couldn't be more true. If math is not your forte in your homeschooling,
Hmm.
ask around in your local area and there are plenty of people who used to teach who aren't
Yeah.
teaching anymore
Yeah.
who would love a chance to do it again.
Yeah,
And
exactly. Yeah.
get the help that you need, because like you said, not everybody's an expert in everything,
Yeah,
you know.
exactly. Yeah.
So, but you just don't realize the reach that math has.
Yeah.
There's a product that they advertise on TV. It's called Poof. And it was a chemical um, developed to cut down on the smell from dumps and sewer uh, treatment plants
Yeah.
to make life better around those places. And it doesn't have anything harmful in it. If you've caught any of their ads, the guy sprays some into his mouth,
Oh,
and it's safe for the pets and the planet. Um,
wow.
that was started because somebody had an idea and worked at it for a
Yeah.
couple of years
Yeah.
until they could develop something that would do what they wanted it to do.
Yeah.
And in the end, chemistry, you need math.
Yeah, you
So,
do. And I will say too, if you have a math student that loves sciences, the hard sciences, they can write their own ticket in some ways because again, these industries, AI, robotics, 3D printing, these are changing the world very, very quickly. We're seeing it in education right now. I mean, I don't really want to go into that. We should do a whole thing on AI and how it's changing
oh,
industries, but
yes.
they've already implanted live a liver made from bio tissue that was 3D printed, and it's saving people's lives. So, there's ethics like what biomatter, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, there's a lot of questions here, but really, all of these people are going into these industries and changing the world. They have a strong math background behind them, and they're making patents. And it's not the world is changing very, very quickly. The math people, the pattern people, they're changing things very quickly. And so anyway, it just opens up so many opportunities for our kids to be strong in math.
Well, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because so much of our math until we get to calculus is algebra or geometry based, and it's getting everyone to the point where you can do the calculus.
Mhm.
But once you get past the calculus, it branches out in
Yeah.
almost infinite ways.
Yeah.
And there are theorems that have proved there are more than 3 or 4 dimensions.
Wow.
Um, there and they have now in military science, they have guns that can shoot around corners,
Yes, I
and they're
know. Yeah.
developing drones. And all this is
Yeah.
stuff we're going to be talking about.
Yeah.
And a lot of those people said, "Oh, I don't like math. I'm not good at it." But look what they developed.
Right, right. Well, and I think too, we have to maybe get over this idea in the homeschool community or just as parents, your kids don't like something, so it's okay. They don't have to do it. I mean, and I am this old. Like, if I didn't like something, my parents didn't care. If it was on the list of things we were going to do, we were going to do it. The end. And I mean, I'm not saying make your kids cry every day or if they have learning disabilities, just push them through. I'm not saying that. I'm saying if your kids have the ability, it's okay if they don't like it. Because here's the deal, most of us don't like what is unfamiliar or that we're not good at. And we don't get better at things like math without practice and intentional practice. Don't keep practicing the things incorrectly. Your kids need an immediate feedback loop to really succeed, especially in things like math, skill based kind of things. But we need to really encourage them to just get over themselves. A learning curve is a real deal. And when we're going up that steep hill, and we're not good at it, no, we don't have a passion for it because we're not passionate about things we're bad at generally. We're passionate about things we're skilled at and we're good at. And so help your
Yes,
kids push through those humps so that they can get skilled at it and they can get good at
absolutely.
it. Yeah. Because math is a
Absolutely.
skill. Math is a skill.
I tell my people, my students now, when we have word problems, they go, "Oh, I don't like them. They're so hard." And I tell them, the only difference between me and you is I've done a few thousand more of those than you have. So
Yeah,
you can do it too, and you can
yeah,
get good at it, but you have
yeah.
to stick with it.
Right. And honestly, word problems, I will say, probably tend to be a little hard for most people because you're expressing symbolic fun, numbers in words. And so it takes some brain power. It's critical thinking. You did mention geometry and algebra, and in my experience, people tend to, and maybe I'm overgeneralizing, but they tend to either like algebra or like geometry. Is that your experience too, or no?
That's true.
Okay,
That's true. They
interesting.
like one and not the other.
Yeah.
And just like I tell them I talk to them about how to study. You pick your hardest subject, the one that causes you the most grief,
Hmm.
and you do that first in the
Yeah.
day.
Right.
And then you finish with your best subject because that finishes on a positive note, doing something you enjoy.
I
And
love
if you
it.
just stick with it,
Yeah.
you will be really good at it.
So I feel like that's like, you're encouraging me to get up and exercise right off in the morning. Is that what you're trying to say?
Uh, yeah, I'm not really good at that either.
Oh my gosh, because I can get up and drink coffee all morning long.
Yeah, so can I.
Getting up and working out, that's a different thing. Anything else you want to just share with parents as we're just talking about math and the importance of it and how it can really set your kids up for success and entrepreneurship?
Well, um, for starters, I like to teach a little bit about entrepreneurship
Hmm.
while they're going through their math class.
Yeah.
You need you need something called startup cash, and
Hmm.
you have to figure out approximately how much you need to get the license or the certificate or whatever it is. And then if you're producing something to sell, you've got to look at the cost of producing those items
Yeah.
before you ever get a dollar in the door.
Yeah.
And you have to have an accounting uh, background, not a background, but a knowledge of accounting,
Yeah.
basic accounting, so that you don't, because 8 out of 10 businesses fail in the
Right.
first year.
Yeah.
And that can be discouraging.
Right.
And
Right.
you have to take Edison was being kind of ribbed because he had taken 200 ways to make a light bulb,
Yeah.
and he kept going and he kept going. And he said, I don't like to think of it that I took 200 tries to get
Yeah.
it. It was 200 times to perfect it.
I love it. Yes, he's failing forward again. I want to mention something else too. As your kids are developing their entrepreneurial spirit, they need startup cash. I mean, if they want to start their own company, that costs money, the lawyers cost money. But another thing they might not consider is if they're working to support themselves, if they quit their job to start this business, they've lost income. And that's really, as you get older, thinking about starting your own company, that can be a hit. That's what we did when we started True North is I quit my professional job to start True North. And so we lost that income for a year or two. And it was like we had to really think about I mean, we weren't rolling in the money before then anyway, but really like how are we going to shift money around to make all this work? And
That's
so
right.
I just really encourage parents, like your kids really, honestly, in my opinion, need to take an entrepreneurship class or somehow work it into your curriculum in high school. Let them start a business while you're paying all the utilities and rent and all that kind of stuff and help them fail forward to something that might be really crazy successful because we actually know several high school kids who have created businesses and are going strong and supported themselves through college doing it. So it's not out of the realm of possibility at all.
That's right. I know somebody who started making keychains. She was artistic, and she decided to do those in the evening because she had 4 little kids.
Uh-huh.
And whatever she earned from selling them to friends and family, she took that money and opened up a savings account. And then she started going into stores to see if people wanted to buy them, and they did. And she just kept saving and saving. She put her 4 kids through college that way.
Wow, that's impressive. Yeah,
And I know someone else who did that with cookies.
yeah, yeah. Well, Mrs. Fields cookies. I mean, she started
Yes,
baking, and people liked her baking enough that she's like she's rolling in the dough.
yes,
To put it that
literally and
way.
figuratively.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. So I feel like this is one of those classes for really parents. Just there's so many, well, there's a few really good books on entrepreneurship on the market. Gina Steffi, who was a six-figure business owner with her kids, that was one of their homeschool projects, and they ended up making six figures. Her son still runs that company. And they've all graduated, and he's still running that very successful company. It's a possibility your kids could make good money, and even if they don't, and they learn these life lessons, and they understand the importance and value of knowing math and some simple accounting and that kind of thing, that's going to just set them up for so much success, whether they go to college, start a business, the military, or anything after high school.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In that student success course I taught how to build a resume,
Mm,
how to market yourself for
yeah.
jobs. And this one male student had gotten all the way through college, and his dream was to work for Lockheed.
Mm,
And he had had 3 interviews and got turned down 3 times. And I was listening to him talk to some people about it. And I said, I can help you get hired out there.
hmm.
And he goes, who do you know? And I said, well, it's not who I know, but I can tell you what I think you're doing wrong. And
Oh,
if you're willing to fix it, I bet you'll get hired. And he took a gamble on me. He did
mhm.
it and he got hired.
Wow.
So
You mind sharing what you told him? What advice you gave
yeah,
him?
he's kind of a frumpy kind of guy. He didn't like personal hygiene. And I told him to get a haircut,
Hmm.
told him to shave his beard. And
Uh-huh.
he was always in flip-flops, no matter what was above it. And I told him, go out and get some dress shoes
Yeah.
and buy yourself a suit. Every man needs a suit.
Yeah.
Sooner or later, you're going to attend a wedding or a funeral,
Right.
something. So get your suit now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we worked on that. And then what he should say in the
Mm,
interview, like he had one interview and he goes, well, I'm not very good at that. I don't like that part of it. And I told him, you've got to stay positive.
yeah.
Here's how I turned my weakness into a strength. And
Yeah.
he got the job.
Awesome. I love it. Yeah, a little coaching can go a long way. I mean, and parents, as you're homeschooling your kids, you are their best coach. You have so much investment in their success. You've been around the block a little bit. You have life skills, you have experience, and your kids need to hear from you. You are their best resource. So, I just want to say again, Leanne's teaching math through art, and she's also teaching Algebra 1, Algebra 2, geometry, calculus, pre-trig, and trig and pre-calc calculus next year at True North Homeschool Academy. So if you're looking for a great math class, she'd love to have your students in there. And she's also available for math tutoring. So
Yes,
um, yeah, it
we
is
have
gonna,
a tremendously strong program. So
we do. We do.
usually homeschool can be weak in the math,
Yeah.
but True North is just rock solid.
Oh, I love to hear that. I love to hear it. This has been a fun conversation, Leanne. Thanks for taking time. It's a Saturday. We tried to figure it out during the week and it just wasn't happening. So we did it today. But yeah, my husband is a space nerd. So of course he set his alarm to get up and watch the launch this morning. It sounds like you did too.
Yes.
I love it.
Living in Florida, it's we saw all the shuttles go and all the
Uh,
rockets, and
yeah.
it never gets old.
It never gets old. There's so many exciting things happening in the field of space and technology, and math can get your kids there. Let us know if you have any questions or comments about math or entrepreneurship, we'd love to hear from you guys. Again, it's Lisa from It's Not That Hard to Homeschool, and we do believe that you can confidently, and even contentedly homeschool. So we're in your
Yes.
corner. We're rooting for you. Hang in there, homeschool mama, and we will talk to you guys soon. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye, Leanne.